Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. This is your lunchtime live show. Sorry we're a little bit late, but yeah, just thought we'd jump on, round up a little bit of Villa news. Some good, some bad, but yeah, we're gonna get into it. You guys get your thoughts in the comments as well. I've got Kev joining me at Positivity. Is it still flowing through you as it was on Sunday night?
What choice have we got, mate? What choice have we got? Yeah.
Exactly. We've got to stay positive, and we're going to talk that. We'll cover the Kamara injury, but yeah, some real positivity with Leon Bailey's new contract, potential not so serious injury for Ezri Konsa, but also with an injury like Boubacar Kamara's got, that does leave opportunities for other players to come through. So maybe we'll talk about who can fill that void. And as I say, you guys let us know in the comments. Do, as always, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We've had some real good response the last couple of days in terms of our videos. So subscribers jumping up again on the road to 4K. But you guys can really help us get there. So like, subscribe, and get involved in the chat. So yeah, obviously the news hit yesterday evening that, as all our fears were kind of confirmed, that Boubacar Kamara is now suffered a serious ACL injury. I might ask a question in terms of the general ACL injuries that seem to be happening across football, really, as a general rule. But in terms of Villa terms, it's obviously 3 across this season, and it looks like he's going to be out till probably Christmas. And this year, end of this year, and it's just really, really bad in terms of for him, and yeah, and just what it means for Villa. So first of all, kind of thoughts out to Boubacar Kamara. I'm sure you want to say, Kev, but yeah, just a real blow to the team.
Yeah, it is. I think, I know people have said, like, he's maybe not been in unbelievable form lately, but I just think he is pivotal to what Emery's been doing with this team. I think he's the epitome of a Rolls Royce of a player. I think we've got a few Rolls Royces, haven't we, in the garage at Villa? We've got Ezri Konsa, obviously, off that kind of Paul McGrath mould, and Boubacar he's just brilliant when he glides around the pitch. I think he's better on the ball sometimes than I think people realise. He's combative. He tidies up. He kind of keeps it going in almost that Makaleli type role. So he's going to be a big miss. He really is going to be a big miss. But this is the whole point, is having a squad. And I look at this whole situation as, look, clearly I could do what, and I know obviously we put out on the channel my a little bit of a clipped version of my passionate plea on Sunday night about, optimism and, how it's not horrendous to lose to Liverpool and Chelsea and these type of teams, Newcastle. But I just think we've got a couple of choices, haven't we? We can either go, it's all done, game over, let's forget about it, let's hit the bottle. Or we can go, well, opportunity knocks. And there's so many situations in life where somebody takes an opportunity. I mean, I literally talked about this the other day at work and I'm going to use the example again. If you ever remember the speed skating final of I can't remember what Winter Olympics was, maybe 2004, where the Australian speed skater, Stephen Bradbury, is the worst skater in the final. And he's only got to the final because someone messed up in the previous race. On the last bend, all 4 of the other competitors collide with each other, and he just comes through and goes, oh my God, I've won a gold medal. Like, it's just unbelievable. You put yourself in these positions. Look at Leicester winning the league when obviously the other teams let their kind of hedge drop a little bit. Situations of, like, was Michael Owen going to be a shoo-in for that World Cup squad? But other strikers form, opportunity comes, he gets a game, he takes it. And who's to say that this isn't going to be amazing for Timmy Rogbunham? I mean, he might not play. He might put McGinn there or Tielemans there and not do it. But the point is this: we've got a squad. We can say they're not good enough. We don't truly know until we put them in this situation. I think if we start saying about Chambers playing centre-half, or Traore was playing wide, I might start thinking fair enough. But, we've got a decent squad, and I think you've got to be giving these players opportunities. So let's just see what happens. Let's give it the best we've got. Let's have a smile on our face. Let's get behind the boys. And Carpe Diem, let's go. See you later. I'm off now.
I knew Carpe Diem would come into it somewhere along the line. Yeah, Mark said it is bad news, but I still believe you have the ability to push on. Lee, I kept that comment up for ages. I bloody love Kev. And
You too, mate.
Michael
Cheers.
watched that race. Jam Jack, good afternoon, mate. Great to have you on board. Yeah, I mean, obviously you mentioned a couple of players there that could take the opportunity, and you've obviously got Bonham, who Emery has spoken well of after the January window. You've got Yuri Tielemans that can play in that area, you know, in the more defensive position. You've got John McGinn who can drop in there as well. You've got potential formation changes as well that could be utilised. You never know what Unai Emery is thinking. You know, and like you said, without being harsh on Kamara, people that were saying, you know, he's not been particularly good of late. He's getting pressured on. He's not as physically strong as maybe we need in that midfield area. So maybe it was a situation where one or two people were saying, give another player an opportunity in that position, and you know, like that. This is the time. With those kind of two or three options, which one do you think is most likely with Unai Emery for kind of the upcoming games?
I think it's McGinn in that position, and I think it's likely to be Tielemans in the position where McGinn was. I think because Tielemans has played almost sometimes has a bit of a false nine or you know, in a more advanced role. I think he's better with that. I think he's better with that as well. So I just think that's a situation where the common thing based on what Emery's done, but I think we've got to be prepared to know that the next in line then is going to be Tim. I think it's going to have to be. And look, clearly Den Dunker went because of FFP reasons, even though it's not going to massively save loads of money, because I think we still would have been able to sell him at the end of the season. It does make a difference. But would they do that really with the difference they made if they didn't have some kind of faith in Tim to do a job? There is some talk, isn't there, from people saying that Chambers has played this role before, but I think that Chambers played this role back when we were still in the European Union. So, you know, like it feels like it's that long ago. Okay, maybe not that long, but 5-6 years ago we did that. I don't think he's an option at all for that role. He might have done it, you know, in a lower level team maybe. So that's the obvious one. I mean, but then part of me does hope. In fact, I think if I had a choice, I'd probably say give Tim a go. Because let's be clear, when you've got a team like, let's look at Liverpool, right? They've done this a lot more over years, and I think other teams have blooded those youngsters. Miley's slotted into that Newcastle team like he's been there.
17 years old, yeah. He took his chance. Yeah.
Look at Bradley at Liverpool. How he's slotted. I mentioned this the other night, but look how Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones. If you're going into that team at Aston Villa now with Douglas Luiz, John McGinn, you've got Ollie Watkins, even if you've got Konza out and Mings out, you've still got, you know, Clement Lenglet's played for Barcelona, he's an international footballer, Pau Torres, Diego Carlos, he's won the Europa League. Like, these are proper quality players that are around you. So I think he's going to have, it's not like he's coming into the team 3 or 4 years ago and he's got Trezeguet and El Ghazi and Danny Drinkwater and Borja Baston and, you know, players that maybe aren't quite
those legends.
Those legends of the game. I mean, El Ghazi, I've got a soft spot for, and Trezeguet, but so I just think there's never going to be a time to do it. This is the time that you put them in. I don't see there being a massive downside to that. Speed, but
I agree with you. You know, it's not. You talk about, again, when we've talked about acting like a big club. You know, big clubs blood their youngsters. They give them an opportunity, and when we're talking about, you know, if we want to be a front foot team, if we want to kind of show that we can, you know, are better than the likes of Nottingham Forest, with no disrespect to them, or a Fulham, you know, Luton, these games coming up, then, you know, giving those players, those squad players or younger players, an opportunity in those games is kind of what we need to do. So it's not like we don't have the ball in these games. No, we like to dominate possession. And even if Bonham came in, you know, much like Louis Miley does, like, he watches game and he kind of just gives it simply. He kind of just gets the ball and releases it within 1 or 2 touches. That's kind of what he does. You know, he doesn't do too many, make too many risks. And that's even if Bonham came in the team and he just told him, stick with your man. That's your man. Don't let him get the ball. And when you get it, control it and give it to Douglas Luiz or give it to John McGinn. Even if he just told him that, right, he'd be doing absolutely fine, because that's what you do. That's when you're a young player, you come in, you've got to earn the respect, you've got to earn the trust of your players so that they can give you the ball in more difficult areas. And that's what I would say. You know, I absolutely agree. If you're telling Tim Bonham that he is the backup player in that defensive midfield position, then you're not really giving him a real vote of confidence. If then when one of those defensive midfielders gets injured, you're changing the whole structure of the team around to stop him from playing.
Yeah, and I think also, like, you know, we've used the most players who've played over 2,000 minutes this season in the top teams. I think maybe even in the league, possibly, but certainly within the top teams. So, you know, across a long season, you are at sometimes going to have to utilise people in the squad. I mean, this is the whole point, isn't it? If you think you're going to go through the season thinking you're going to have no injuries, and we've had significant injuries in now every bit of the pitch. We've obviously had the Mings one in the defence. We've obviously had Kamara now in the midfield, and obviously Buendia in attack with
and Duran.
And obviously you've also had further reinforced layouts with Ramsey's been in and out, Tielemans in and out, Powell in and out. So, but that's why you've got a squad, and we know our squad struggled because of obviously FFP, profit sustainability restrictions, and also because a year and a bit ago we were still really building this squad. So you're not going to be able to make the kind of changes that you need to. But at some point, you are going to have to rely on some of these players. And let's be clear as well, I think lately, largely, I know we've had some bad results, but I don't think that's necessarily been down to Longley and Carlos. So Longley and Carlos are not probably even on our top 3 centre-halves. Really, are they? You're looking at Pau, Mings and Konza. So you're already doing that. You know, you've got a situation where Cash is probably second to Konza in terms of right-back at the moment as an option. Moreno is probably second to Digne. We've made it work. So we're just going to have to do this, have to rely on him. And it does also bring that sense of an opportunity. And if Irobenham now, if he wants to have this career that he's really highly rated, I love the fact he's a local lad, great bar and all that kind of stuff. But this is his chance to step into the sun and show what he's all about. And let's see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving into kind of, I guess, better news on the injury front. It looks like Ezri Konsa potential injury isn't like an ACL or like a ligament. I think he might be out for maybe slightly longer than the 3 to 4 weeks that Emery was saying. But again, like with these players, they always tend to do kind of worst case scenarios. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not back kind of running and in training in the next, say, 2 weeks. And I think on a positive note as well, I think he could maybe time his comeback with when the Europa Conference League starts back up again. We've only got 1 game a week now, pretty much until that time. So he's not. He's going to be back for what they call that business end of the season. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, and I think if you look at also that defence we're likely to have now. I know Torres has been back for a week or so, but we still haven't seen him anywhere near the pitch, so maybe he's not quite ready. But if you've got Longley, Carlos, Digne and Moreno now on the left, you've got Cash on the right with obviously Kessel Hayden. By the way, everything I said for Irobenham, I repeat for Kessel Hayden in terms of opportunity and stepping up. And then you've hopefully got Torres back as well. I think that defence can cope with a Fulham, a Forest, you know, these type of teams. I think it can. So, I mean, Luton as well. I mean, let's be clear, of all of those teams would love to have the defensive options that we've got available, without a doubt. I'm not saying they wouldn't have certain players of their own squad they'd want to keep in there, but so I think we should be able to compete, really. I think we should be able to.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, obviously now you kind of scratch off Kamara, but if you think, okay, Duran, how long ago was it that he kind of announced his injury? And it was like 10, maybe 8 to 10 weeks, probably 4 weeks ago. So he might not be too far off getting back into some sort of training. Emi Buendia, we haven't seen a huge amount of, but you're looking at maybe a month off, maybe, if he can start to get back into some training. So all of a sudden that, and then of Ezri Konsa maybe coming back at that time, all of a sudden you're looking at, you know, a picture where you've got Luca Dean, you've got Ramsey coming back into like something like full fitness. You've got Pau Torres, who could probably start making appearances now as it comes through. He's getting stronger. And then you've got these other 3 players coming back in. All of a sudden, you've got some pretty decent options when you didn't have any. We were really scratching around over Christmas. Like we were literally running on empty with that. You know, I know we were winning games, but the team was running on empty. Yeah,
it was. And also, I think there's been talk about potentially even having a formation change because possibly our 4-2-2-2 is getting found out a little bit. And there's obviously been some good tactical analysis out there about that. So that does need, maybe you need a bit of variation with the system that you're playing. Yeah, you're going to get to the end of the season and probably have players available that aren't available now. And probably going to have some more injuries, and you're going to have to rely on different people. But any team that does anything has to do that. And if you look across any team that has success, there'll be certain games where certain people come to the fore. I mean, let's look at last season for Aston Villa. Watkins had that amazing purple patch of away goals, didn't even scored in 5 or 6 away games in a row. That was absolutely massive for us. Bailey was scoring at the start of games. We were getting off stuff to great starts. And then look at right at the end of the season, Bertrand Traore got a couple of really, really key goals for us. So you're going to have to rely on different people in different situations to step up. And I'm excited to see who's going to step up for us, who's going to take those opportunities, because we need to get I think at least 7 points out of these next 3 games. I don't want to talk about it, but that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it going to be a I don't know, a Yuri Tielemans thunder blaster to get us a win in one game? Is it going to be a Clement Longley scrappy bobbly goal in another game to get us a win?
Yeah, I agree, mate. I agree. A few comments coming in. Debbie Hingley says, Kamara had an absolute mare against Chelsea. We will manage time for the youngsters to step up. Rachel says, afternoon all. Big blow for the Kamara injury. 1 game at a time and see where we are at the end of the season. Colin said, Newcastle had the same kind of blip at this time of the season last year. And then by early March, won 9 games come the end of the season. So, yeah, I'm coming. Like I said the other night, I think we had a really good conversation. If you haven't seen that podcast, I think it was really, really well received. One of the best chats that we've had in a long time. So do check that out if you've seen it. But I was, fairly encouraged. I was really encouraged actually by the performance, and I do think the players will be. And to keep that into the next 3 games, I think 7 out of 9, possibly even 9 out of 9 is on the cards. Just quickly before we kind of round up a couple of the other bits of news, just quickly, you mentioned kind of formation change, and I just thought in my mind there, could he go with like a 3-5-2 and play like Torres, Longley, Carlos across the back, Matty Cash at right wing back, Moreno and Dina at left wing back, and then that kind of solves the problem in that midfield, because then you have Louise, McGinn and Tielemans or a Ramsey, and then you have like Bailey or Diaby playing off Watkins. Could he potentially do that?
Yeah, I think you could also do what he's done with Konza, but as a 4 still, with Torres playing that hybrid on a left back centre back role, to have 3 centre halves and play Cash as a kind of the attacking right back. I think that would work maybe for home games as effectively. So you have Torres, Carlos, Longley, and then Cash. I think you could do that easily. I think you could. Obviously, you've got a situation there where if Torres maybe isn't cutting out, you've then got a Dina and Moreno to come on. Maybe you don't even play either of those, possibly. I really think that's also a good option. Emery knows his onions, doesn't he? Let's be clear. And he's had a blueprint that's worked pretty well for us, but he's had to tweak that lately because obviously we've been getting found out a little bit. So I think he'll have a few things up his sleeve. I think he will, and he'll be able to utilise all the pieces at his disposal on the board.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that could be an option. I guess it just leaves you. I mean, a centre back could get injured anyway, but yeah, I guess it allows you some flexibility, and sometimes it might not be a bad opportunity to try that against like a Fulham side, because they can be quite dangerous, certainly in kind of the wide areas, and certainly getting the ball into the box to like a Jimenez. So maybe an extra centre back wouldn't be the bad idea. John says Manuel played 17-year-old Mainu, so why not a 20-year-old for us? We've got to try Tim. Yeah, 100% agree with you. 100% agree. So just to kind of I think round up the show. Good news was leaked. Was fully announced yesterday after being leaked last week, and then his dad announcing it, and it was all down to him apparently. Nothing to do with the man himself scoring the goals and getting the assists. But Leon Bailey announced. It was announced by the club that he'd signed a 3.5-year deal with the option of an extra year, so potentially up to 4.5 years. He's 26 now, so that would take him up to 29 with regards to the 3.5 years, but 30 with regards to the 4.5 years. And if there's ever been a comeback story for a player in the recent times at Aston Villa, I think Leon Bailey is front line and centre of it.
Oh, this is what the movie was made about. This, for me personally, we've all on this pod. We've had a player and we've given a little bit of grief to. It used to be you with Louise. Obviously Sam with Watkins. We've all had a little bit of a beef with someone. If you'd have asked me a year and a bit ago, I'd have been like, let's ship out Bailey. I mean, I'm at times I'd watch him down Villa Park and he just would do absolutely. His touch was terrible. His end product was rubbish. He'd pluck one out of the sky with the best touch you've ever seen, and he'd shank one out in the very next touch. For me to think about that, the fact that I was absolutely overjoyed with this news just goes to show how far his conversion has gone. So I'm over the moon. He's been. I mean, I think he's on leading attacking light at the moment. And that's why there was such clamour for him to stay on the pitch when he came off the other day against Man United, because he was the main threat. We got to protect him at all costs, because he's the one. He's looking like, I mean, Diaby looks a shadow of Bailey, and we obviously all thought Diaby was going to possibly be Bailey's replacement. And then we would go, we're going to get in an Ansu Fati or another, or these are the wide players we were linked with, and Bailey would go, and Bailey's the one. So great news for the club, because his form this season, he would have had some big clubs looking at him without a doubt.
Isn't it something like, is it 10 goals now in all competitions and something like 9 or 10 assists in all competitions? It's still kind of better than, because he hasn't started so many games, and he has been used as an impact player, and to come on, he's kind of goal contribution to minutes is still kind of like 70-80 minutes per goal contribution or something. I mean, if you're looking for a player across the whole league who is the best of his type in terms of contributing to goals, whether he scores them or assists them, it's Leon Bailey. I can't think of anybody else who has the impact that he has had across the Premier League.
10 goals, 8 assists. I think it's all comps. Goals per 90. 0.
I mean, I know I've got my question marks over what constitutes an assist, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But these stats compared to previous seasons, and we've still got a fair chunk of this season to go, are massively up. And it's another example of when you've got more of the ball, you keep more possession, you get more touches, you get more passes, more progressive passes, more through balls, more crosses, all that kind of stuff. You are going to get more goals and assists. So hence why fitting in a team to that system, for me, it's the same thing. You're not constantly backed against the wall. You generally have more possession, even against some of the decent teams, even in away games. Bailey's been fantastic, hasn't he? And I'm just absolutely buzzing for him. And yeah, let's not mention Craig Butler too much. I don't think he deserves any comment.
Well, he took all the credit himself anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Leon's and I tell you what as well, like what I love about the situation. He was getting leveled at him. Was he a bit of a flash player, and was he up for the fight? And there was times when he obviously had his injury problems early on, and people were saying he was made of Weetabix legs and all that kind of stuff. And he's had to really graft, and he does really graft in this team now, and he does his defensive work pretty well. And he's confident on the ball. You can see he's playing with a smile on his face, and it's just great to see. And he's the kind of player that gets the fans on their feet. And I am so looking forward to Leon Bailey dancing to that Champions League music next season. So let's have it.
Love it. Do you know what as well? He's really good in interviews as well. He's really good. He speaks really well. He's obviously very intelligent. And yeah, he's very humble. He's very kind of, he's done those humorous things where they've kind of, he's happy to laugh at himself as well. So I think he comes across really, really well, like in terms of, I guess, a voice in the dressing room as well. Like, he's such a little guy. You don't expect him to have such a deep voice. But yeah, I imagine like when he talks, I think people listen to him as well when he's got something to say. So yeah, really, really well done on his part. And yeah, absolutely agree with what you're saying. He's our most potent attacker at the moment. You can see when teams double up on him, you can see like the fear that he strikes in, especially if it's not a comfortable left back. Like obviously he tore Dan Burn to shreds. He tore Lindelof to shreds in that second half against Man United. So any left back or makeshift left back that's coming up against him on in future games, you better watch out for Leon Bailey. So yeah, and fantastic. Just to round up the show very, very quickly, another little bit of news as Nicola Zaniolo. I don't think it will come to a surprise for anyone that he's looking at his next options. Apparently, whether that's agent talk or I don't think it would be him saying that, but yeah, I think it's safe to say he hasn't necessarily done enough to warrant a transfer. That being said, you mentioned Bertrand Traore coming up with a couple of key goals at the end of the season. You know, there's still time for Zaniolo to pop up with one or two moments for this season. You never know.
Well, let's look at what's happened this season. I mean, he got the goal, didn't he, which secured us the point we needed to progress top of the group in the Conference League. I think if we lose that game 1-0, we end up going into to have another
playoff round. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And he got us a point. How valuable is that point at Sheffield United going to be at the end of the season? We don't know, but it might be the difference, you know, to get us in 4th or 5th spot. So, yeah, I'm optimistic that he can contribute, but I do think that he's. I mean, as I said to you, kind of pre-pod, but if he is looking to leave in May, then he better start making his way to the airport now because he's so slow he might miss his flight. Just feels like he's like. It just takes an age to turn and get the ball under control. I actually think he's a really good player, and it
comes with confidence, and it comes with confidence and with fitness and games. You know, you can see kind of how Ramsey's gone through that period, and you think, right, now he's kind of getting to that level. Now you've seen it with Leon Bailey. Now he takes the ball in his stride. It just takes that little bit of time for someone like him. But unfortunately, when you're in the position that he's in his position and his position within the club, he's only going to get 15 minutes at most. So he's got to learn to get to the pace of the game quickly.
Yeah, but I do think, you know, you mentioned Ramsey. We're going to need Ramsey. We're going to need Diaby. We're going to need Zaniolo. We might even need Emi Buendia back end of this season to be getting some valuable goals. Watkins, obviously, there's a lot of pressure on Watkins. He's the one we got to keep fit now, really, because there's no one else other than him is there for that role. But they're all going to have to step up.
Yeah. Right, let's. I think that does us for a little lunchtime session. I think I might be back tonight with a fans forum if I can work out time. So yeah, look out for that, guys who are watching now. We'll also obviously got Fulham preview coming up at the end of the week, and also potentially more of these lunchtime sessions, maybe Thursday or Friday. See if we can get one in. So make sure you're staying tuned into the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. If you haven't already, hit it on your way in. If you're watching now, make sure you catch up. Keep your comments flowing in the chat as well. Like I said, we've had some real good response to our last few videos, so keep that coming, guys. It's really, really appreciated. Some of the support we're getting is just fantastic. I mean, that comment we got the other day, Kev, I think that made your day.
Look, mate, I like just to kind of say, like, you know, I know you've touched on this, but you know, we're so thankful of all the support we get, all the comments. I mean, look, I even love the difference of opinions. You know, I know when I'm on one of my positive, you know, trains, I'm going to get some people telling me I'm deluded and this is how it always goes for Villa and we always mess it up. And it's like, well, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, but I just think, you know what? Let's just try and look at it in the best possible light we can. You know, glass half full rather than glass half empty. But it's lovely to know that through the ups and downs, we're sharing this together. We've got to be supportive because we've got more chance of getting through the hard times if we are a collective, both obviously as a pod channel, but as a fan base. So yeah, thanks to everyone.
Wicked. Right, guys, thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa. Thanks, everyone.